Good morning from my dining room to yours. I'm Bess Fitzgerald. I'm the chairperson of the Tanzanian Affinity Group, and we've been working for a while to try and decide whether or not to respond positively to the Tanzania group's request to have a relationship for mutual upbuilding of our Mennonite churches between the Shirati Diocese, which has 107 congregations, and our conference, which has 43. Let me tell you a little bit about it. We have been studying this issue and sent a proposal around that would be voted on in June. If we meet, we'll see what happens with that. Our group has studied culture, history, talked to people who've been involved in missions there, gotten some good wisdom, and all 6 of us think that it's a good idea to move ahead with this proposal. Let me tell you what the proposal is, and then I'll tell you about a visit from some of the Shirati people. The plan for our relationship would have 5 elements, and this is on a timeline which is probably out of date with the coronavirus epidemic. We would plan to send 1 or 2 delegates. We would plan to send 1 or 2 delegations to Tanzania over the course of the next 3 years. Those would be made up of men and women, young and old, rich and poor, different kinds of people. The funds for those trips would be privately raised, and we have had good success at raising funds for 2 previous trips. So it would not come out of our regular budget, but come from outside that. Over the course of those 3 years, we would also, number 2, welcome the Shirati Diocese to send 1 or 2 delegations over the course of 3 years to come here. They would pay for their travel, and we would pay for their expenses while they're here. It'd be great for them to continue to receive and to send delegations so that we can build this relationship and know one another as people rather than as faces across the screen. The third thing we would hope to do would be to foster engagement with our youth by giving and receiving videos from especially their choir contests that they have, and challenge our youth to think about what could we send that would tell them about our culture, our lives here, our faith journeys. So that would be a third element. A fourth element would be exchanging prayer concerns on a quarterly basis. Distribute these through the established email links in our conference. So we would find out what their needs are, their praises are, their ways of doing things are, and they could find out about ours. And the fifth element would be to distribute posters for display in conference churches. This doesn't make any sense in our present circumstances, but once we are meeting together as local bodies, we'd hope to have posters that would familiarize us with the facts of them, to remind us to pray, to remind us that they are in relationship with us, and those could be updated with prayer requests, with pictures, with the upcoming events. So those are the 5 elements that we proposed. One of the things we learned about as we talked with experts in this field is that we want to not be engaged in sending money for capital projects in this 3-year term. We need to build trust. There's not the expectation that at the end of 3 years we would begin to do capital projects, but for these first 3 years we have already decided not to do that. There are other groups that are working with the Shirati Hospital and with Tanzania in general And so that's not part of this project to do, to send them money. We had a good visit from some of the people from Shirati. We had anticipated a delegation of 7 people, men and women, young and old. But as it turned out, we had 2 people come. 3 were granted visas. A woman named Mrs. Dorothy, who is the head of the women's effort in Tanzania, came, but she went to Lancaster County first for a conference and to visit friends, and was not able to come because of the coronavirus, and we believe she's back home. The other 2 people that arrived were Bishop Katete from Shirati Diocese and Mr. Simon Songa, who is a young man accountant. He has 2 important roles that we were glad to hear about. One is that he is the leader of the youth movement of the National Church, and he's also the lead accountant for the Shirati Hospital, that is a Mennonite affiliated facility. So it was really great to have him here, have both of them here, and to meet them face to face. We had quite a few things planned for their 14-day visit. It didn't turn out to be more than a 10-day visit, of course, and many of those plans had to be rearranged, and some things were canceled. We were really sorry not to get in touch with Goshen College, which had a warm welcome plan for us, and that didn't work out. We felt sad about that. Many other things didn't happen that we hoped would happen, but we did have good meetings with MLT, with the Tanzania Affinity Group. They got to go to some churches, to College Mennonite, to New Foundation. They met with Fellowship of Hope. They had a tour of Greencroft and of AMBS. They went to Menohoff, and they certainly were at the conference office several times. They got to try Mexican food and Indian food and American food and soul food. So it was good to be with them, and we're especially grateful to Dick and Nancy Yoder in Goshen, who hosted those men for the 10 days they were here. They were very flexible. One question we've had as we've tried to let people know about this proposal that will be voted on in June is the question is why? Why would we do this? And there are many reasons, but let me highlight a couple. I hope that we can learn from them in Shirati. They are growing. They have a church structure that builds in discipleship, evangelism, and church planting, so that most churches have a daughter church. And they're seeing lots of people coming to the Lord who are young people who didn't have any sense of Christianity before they arrived, or who are drawn to the Anabaptist vision and join. So I would love to have our conference be like their diocese, that has lots of young people, lots of church planting, lots of vitality. And I think meeting with them and talking with them about how the Spirit's moving there could be a way that we could seek God and let the Spirit be freer here. So that's one reason why we might consider voting yes to begin this proposal whenever it's physically and whenever it's appropriate again after this hard time has passed us, which I hope will be soon. There are things that we have to share with them. They were especially interested in how we raise and distribute funds in our conference, which is very different from how Shirati does that. And they had some aha moments, some good ideas for things that they could try there. I think that we will continue to have aha moments from the way they do things as well. One of the meetings that did happen was a meeting between Bishop Gatete and Mr. Songe, and Will Fitzgerald, my husband from Kalamazoo Mennonite Fellowship, and the new pastor there, who's Grant Miller. Grant and Will were especially interested to find out how their parish system works, and wonders if we can apply some of those ideas, structures, plans to a new system in Kalamazoo, where we're experimenting with having perhaps one pastor oversee a number of house churches, or have a solid congregation planting a new fellowship. In Shirati, they have to have a church close enough for everybody to walk to, and that means that they have to be, you can't really walk more than 3 miles in a morning, Sunday morning, with your kids and your old people to church. So they are planting churches wherever there's not a church within, wherever there is a catchment, which is their term for people who can come within 3 miles. Once that church gets to be about 70 or 90 people, it's financially viable to begin to think about that church planting another one in an area where maybe there are family members too far to come. So anyway, it was good for us in the U.S. to think about, we have cars, we don't have to have a church every 3 miles or within a 3-mile catchment, but what ideas or elements of that plan could spark new ideas in Michigan for ways to support smaller fellowships with one pastor who might oversee several congregations. So there's a lot more to think about and learn in that one. There's just a lot to learn from people who are very different from us. One of the fun things to learn is that as we proposed matching our youth groups to their youth groups, we learned that one thing is we didn't understand very well, and that is the translation of the Shirati word that they call youth groups means not young people, but energetic people. So their youth group is targeted at people from 12 years old to 40 years old. They're the people with the energy to make the church go. And so that's different from our youth group, and in some ways it's a mistranslation, isn't it? But we can learn from that they gather the people with energy to do discipleship, to do ministry in terms of trying to encourage worship and evangelism and care for the poor, all those things together to further the church. And they're aware that some people are older and don't have the energy, and so those people have different roles. So anyway, that was fun to find out, and we'll have to keep learning and keep thinking about how we can engage between our youth, who are sorted out carefully by a few age groups, and their youth, who are gathered in a big group. So anyway, there's a lot to learn. Their youth choir is made up of anyone who can keep up, anyone who has the energy. So it's quite different. These times are different. We're in a place that we've never been before, and this virus will change the way we relate to each other and change the way we do church here, and it will change things in Shirati too. I hope that you will forward your questions to the MLT and also to the Tanzania Affinity Group. I hope that you will pray for Shirati. They don't have the medical resources that we have, and will have probably a different situation and different losses and different positives as well. So we'll see. So pray for them. We're going ahead with this proposal, not because it's possible to do it on the schedule that we had planned, but because we have plenty of time to think about things and to pray about things. So I hope this is helpful. God bless you, and thanks for listening. Bye.